What's up, everybody? Talkin Brash, episode 38, Saturday afternoon. The matinee shows are still weird, but it's all right. Richard Dicko North, what's up? Curtis Grant's usually on here. I'll preemptively say hello. What's going on? It's been an empty life without you on Blackout Fridays. I no longer do Blackout Fridays because it's been a little rough. I knew it. Curtis is here. What's going on, Curtis? Today, we'll get right to it because he's actually at this wrestling event that they're setting up right now. So he's sitting outside. It's probably cold or colder than here up there. So I don't want to waste time with him just sitting out there. He's a friend from Jersey. Kind of fucking was brought up in the same metal scene that I was when Doomsday was the thing. So I just want to introduce to you my friend Charlie Corletta. He's from the Silencer. Charlie, what's up, dude?
What's up, low-key? Long time no see, no speak. Glad to see you, dude.
Yeah, man. So let's get on the newest stuff first, and then we'll go back in time and talk about some of that stuff. You've been at the Silencer for a minute now, right? That's been a project that's been going on forever. But you guys just have a new video, you've released some new music, and then you make an appearance on WWE NXT. So take me through the latest things of what's been happening with the Silencer and some of those experiences.
Yeah, so like you mentioned, the Silencer, it's been like a brainchild and a baby of mine for a better part of a decade. It started off as a solo project. Just would release singles here and there in between bands or in between projects. And then a couple years ago, about 4 years ago, I decided to make it a full-fledged live band so we can gig and put out music videos and release more music. And from that moment on, we were kind of off to the races. You know, we were a singles-driven band, so we released a single, and that would carry us for a couple months. The model has kind of changed since then, so we need to kind of up our game a little bit in regards to producing content for everyone and new music. But yeah, man, now we're a full-fledged live band. Like you said, we just released new music. We actually have 2 new music videos and singles out called Beliefs in the Fall. Those videos were directed by Black Wolf Imaging. I think it's definitely by far the best work we've put out yet. Got a new singer. I'm no longer singing for the Silencer. I'm now playing guitar, and we got my boy Ace Vincent, formerly of Another Day's Armor, singing for us.
Right.
And yeah, man, it's crazy during this time of a pandemic. You would think that everything shut down and being an artist, it's hard to get gigs and it's hard to perform. But I got the call on the fly to go down to NXT and perform for their crowd and their global audience. And I was able to play guitar and play out my best friend Damian Priest to his Halloween Havoc North American Championship entrance. It was awesome.
That's awesome. I'll get to that in a minute. First, what made you sidestep from singing in the band to getting someone else to sing and just playing guitar?
Well, as you know, performing takes a toll on you, no matter what your instrument or your trade is. With the Silencer, I had already been writing all the music and producing all the music. And what you would hear on record was, up to a certain point, was me on vocals, guitar, bass, drums, the whole nine. Once we became that live band,
I know the feeling.
yeah. No, if anyone knows, it's definitely you. You're a jack of all trades as well.
Right.
And metal vocals were actually just kind of starting to take their toll on me. And as a matter of fact, it all started a couple years prior to the Silencer really taking off, when I was back in Julius Seizure. And it's this odd thing, man, where one day we were in a rehearsal and I hadn't warmed up, which is something I always did. And believe it or not, long story short, I gave myself a concussion from screaming, full-blown concussion.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. And I didn't know what was going on for I went undiagnosed for 2 years or something like that.
How the fuck did that happen?
I don't know, man. I think, I was going through a lot of really stressful stuff at that period of time. I think I just had a lot of pressure built up. And like I said, I went to that rehearsal. I didn't warm up. And I kind of just, I did one of those really long held out fry screams. But I did it really from the heart. I had a lot of stress going into that scream. And I just felt something pop. It felt like someone hit me in the head with a baseball bat. So fast forward, couple weeks, couple months, my life just kind of started to spiral in a weird way. My mental state was not there. I didn't know what was going on. I had chronic headaches every single day for the better part of 2 years. Went to a slew of doctors. They couldn't figure it out. Finally, they ran some scans and some tests on my brain. They're like, you have some like gray matter indicative of a concussion. I explained to them exactly when this all started with the scream. And finally, when I went to a neurologist, one of their specialists was like, oh yeah, you could definitely give yourself a concussion that way because your brain's sitting like in the skull and it's rattling around with the vibrations of the scream. And then if you jolt your head a certain way, which we do, we headbang, we put our body into
Right.
what we do. And sure as hell, like I ended up giving myself a full-blown concussion. Fast forward, the symptoms kind of subsided. I got back to working out. I was doing all right. Started singing in the silencer. And then one day I just started noticing I was getting all those symptoms again. I was getting the lightheadedness, the headaches, like my mood was changing like at the drop of a dime. I could be talking to you and be happy. And 3 seconds later, I was like clinically depressed for no reason. So yeah, so I finally was just like, you know what? I think it's time to hang up that hat. And to be honest, dude, like I'd always heard in my mind a way better singer than what I was capable of doing. So luck would have it that our old bassist, Dave Goyette, had previously played bass in a band called Another Day's Armor. And their lead singer was no longer in that band. His name was Ace Vincent. And I was like, yo, like, what do you think about getting Ace in the band? Because I'd kind of gotten to know him pretty well over the course of like 2 years. And we kind of became like brothers, He was kind of like an extension of me. I feel like we're like one and the same dude. And Dave was like, I think it's a great idea. We tried him out, and his first show was with us at Nile at Gramercy Theater. He killed it, and we're off for the races after that.
Right on. That's awesome. Good for you guys, man. Fucking So, what's your relationship with Damian then? Damian Priest.
Damian Priest of NXT. You'd have to go back to like when we were in high school together over 20 years ago, or just about 20 years now. First introduction to the guy, he used to look like The Rock. We used to call him The Rock back in high school because he kind of dressed like him. He looked like him. He carried himself like him. And I found out that he liked pro wrestling. And, I was a huge pro wrestling fan in high school. And, that's how we bonded. That's how we clicked. And we became best friends. And over the years, he's an extension of my family. He's my brother. And we got started actually training where I'm at right now. I'm sitting outside the world famous Monster Factory in Paulsboro, New Jersey. And this is where we got our start in the world of professional wrestling. We both signed up to train as pro wrestlers to pursue this dream of being a wrestler. And our lives, although they paralleled each other, he continued with wrestling and I continued with metal. Like the whole thing with me was like, if I keep wrestling, undoubtedly I'm going to get injured. Now, if I get injured and I hurt my hands or hurt my feet because I'm like a drummer, I'm a guitar player, well, I'm kind of screwed, right? So I had to kind of like prioritize what meant more to me at that moment. So I stuck with music, and it's been the best decision I ever made. But luck would have it, like now I'm here, I'm doing commentary for the Monster Factory and calling the matches, and that's awesome. But yeah, that's where it all began with us, was like I said, like 20 years ago, just being best friends and having this love for wrestling and metal, and here we are today.
Yeah. So you kind of make this pact, like, oh yeah, one day I'll write your entrance music and we'll be in WWE, just saying shit that we, kids say.
Yep.
But all right, so now he's in NXT and you get the call. What's that call like? What happened there? How did he approach, I guess, the powers that be over there to make that happen? And what was the call for you? What happened there?
So yeah, like I get the call like about a week before NXT's Halloween Havoc. I see that Damian's calling me, and I have a good feeling the minute I saw that the phone was ringing and it was him. I had a good feeling that it had something to do with his entrance. I don't know why, but because like you said, we had made this pact since we were kids, and we would always talk about it. And I had actually written a theme song for him for NXT, which they hadn't used up until this point. And I was like, I have a feeling this has to do with the entrance. And sure enough, he calls me up. He's like, what's up, dude? I go, what's up? He's like, you got a minute? I go, yeah. He's like, how soon can you get down to the WWE Performance Center? And right off the bat, I was like, why? Am I playing you out to the ring? He goes, yeah, I think so. So I was actually at rehearsal for the silencer at the time. So like I told all the guys, they were like all ecstatic about it. I was like, dude, I'll get there in 18 hours, I'll be there if you need me to. So then all of a sudden it became a matter of logistics. Like we found out, he had to talk to Triple H. And at that point, Triple H had kind of like given it the green light, but it wasn't finalized. Then they started asking, well, what does he need to come down? Like, what does he need in the way of production? So here I am saying, cool, like WWE's dime, like I want him to rent me some gear so I don't have to like fly in or drive in and like have like all my gear lugging around. Then long story short, they were like, we're way over budget for this production already. Like, even though it might be like a couple $100 like to rent the stuff or $1,000 to rent the stuff, we don't know if we can get it improved in time. So we're like scouring, thinking about like, who do we know who lives by him, who can like, maybe I can borrow gear or whatever. And finally I was just like, dude, like I'm a lifer, I'm a road crew guy. Like, why don't I just pack my stuff like I would any gig and just like head straight down there and beeline it? So inevitably that's what I did. And it was a great decision because now here I am on this like grand stage with my gear. I'm comfortable, I'm getting to play my amp, my guitars. And so once he told them that, they're like, yeah, get him here immediately. We don't have to spring for the production. Cool. So that took care of that. And it was a great call. Like, it was just kind of cool when I got off the call with him, just to like kind of go over it with my band. At first I felt bad because they're like, wait, are we all playing? And I was like, no, guys. Yeah. I was like, this is so last minute. They just want me to play guitar to his theme song right now. But I have a good feeling that this is like a foot in the door. And sure enough, when I got down there, we had the conversation of, yeah, man, we definitely want to get the full band at some point. So it was a good test run, but that was an awesome week. It was very chaotic. I had to like on the drop of a dime, cancel all my like students, because I teach music, and I had to like tell them like, hey, I got this amazing opportunity I can't pass up. And of course, my boss was like, you have to go, you have to do this.
Right. That's awesome. Trying to find the right question. So you head down there. You already knew his theme music.
Well,
from previous, because I know we were talking before that you were saying like you actually had written something that they haven't been able to use because they go through a process of getting a guy over. So at first they give him sometimes this generic ass fucking intro music. So you had to learn that and play it?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I was very familiar with the song just because he's my boy. So I watch him every night he's on TV. So of course I knew the theme song. But it was funny. He calls me up. I was like, all right, let me get started right on this theme song. And I wasn't sure exactly. I had this like big vision in my head of like playing the whole song for like 3.5 minutes and performing or whatever. And of course, as soon as I got down there, all of that changed. But luckily I did my homework, and it was a good thing because first off, the song was pretty easy to learn. I learned it literally in like 8 or 9 minutes. Like I just had to find the key, and then that was it. And then it was smooth sailing. But then we get down there, and all of a sudden, all the things I've been practicing, Triple H is kind of like, well, I was kind of thinking we do like, you kind of do some shredder thing at the beginning. And I'm not a shred guy. I'm like a rhythm, like I'm a riff lord. Like I leave all the shredding stuff to like Angel Vivaldi and like guys like you who can like really solo really well. That's not like Jay Tarantino. That's his bag,
Yeah, yeah.
So I was like, oh man, all right.
Jay's a super shredder.
Yeah, super shredder. So I was like, all right, well, EVH had just passed away, Eddie Van Halen. And I'd like slapped EVH on tape on my dime DNML. So I was like, maybe I could do some kind of like Eddie tapping thing, Kirk Hammett-esque or whatever. And so I was able to pull something together kind of last minute to give them like this intro to the intro, and then they would cue in the music, and then I would just riff over the song. And they were just like, just do you, just headbang, just do what you do and play the song. So it was a relatively easy process for the most part, but I would be lying if I didn't say I didn't have some like butterflies, which is weird because I never get those anymore, ever. Like I'm kind of numb before a show. And this time I was like, oh man, the dream, like it's happening. 20 years in the making.
Is that show live?
Yeah, it was live on USA Network.
So the pressure was on.
Yeah.
There was no going back.
No going back, and that was no going back, dude. And the craziest thing is they like put me on like like the entrance ramp. It's kind of like on a little bit of a hill there. So they have all this like crazy fog shooting up from underneath me, kind of looking like the Undertaker or something. So I'm feeling that, but all of a sudden, like during dress rehearsal, I noticed like my foot just kept slipping because it was like this metal grate. And I guess there's like condensation that builds up. So I'm just like the whole time I'm saying, oh my God, this is live. Don't bust your ass. Like I'd rather screw up the song than bust my ass,
Right.
But it all went off without a hitch. The weird thing though is because we're in the pandemic, instead of having like 20 or 30,000 people in the audience, it was just a very select group that had to be tested beforehand. And then you had like in place of the audience, you had all these huge like LED or LCD screens that had like just like what you and I are doing. It looked like people were just sitting in like a Zoom call watching the match live from the comfort of their home. So that was
it's the new way. This is how we sports now.
It was so weird. It was kind of awkward in that regard, and it was kind of like I don't want to say stagnant, but like that live feeling, like you didn't have that live person to person interaction. So that was a little weird, but I had just come off of doing 2 new music videos. So it was just like, oh, it's like a music video. Just don't screw up the riffs,
Right.
So it ended up going really well. It was an awesome time. And yeah, dude, 20 years, man. Like I'm still on cloud 9 about it just because we've talked about this since we were kids, like you said, and it's very rare that people actually talk about a dream when they're kids and get to actually live it as they grow older. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome, man. Yeah, I can only imagine like knowing the pressure that shit's actually going live, and it's like if you fuck up, there's not all right, no, do another take, everyone. No
yeah.
That pressure was on, man.
It was on, dude. And I kind of equated to like, well, if I was with my full band, if I was with the band, you can like mask a lot of stuff, right? Like if I mess up on a riff or whatever, my other guitar players got me covered, the drums are gonna cover it up, whatever. But then I was like, you know what? Like how many performers do this like every day of their lives?
Yeah.
And they're like,
I bet you they had you up in the mix too, right? Probably like.
Oh yeah, dude, I was. And so much so that like when you go back and you watch it, the first like 4.5 seconds or so of me doing the tapping, like my hand was just like kind of like, as a guitar player, like the palm was resting just so like just in the wrong way.
Right.
So like the first couple of notes are
kind
just
of muting the string.
Yeah. And I was like, and I felt it and I knew it was happening. So I was like, all right, I just got to get through that section. And I got back on track. And then what was cool was the audience that they did have there, I heard them, and you don't really hear it on the broadcast because, like you said, they haven't been pumped in the mix so much, but they're like clapping to the beat, like on beat with the. Right. So I was like, all right,
that's cool.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, I'm over with the crowd. Like I'm in. Like now I'm doing my thing, and now it sounded smooth. But yeah, that was my biggest fear because I couldn't see what it looked like. I couldn't hear what it sounded like until
I was just about to ask you, what was like the monitoring situation like?
It was awesome, actually. Dude, this is the crazy thing about this company. They're like.
State of the art.
Yeah, nobody touches them. So I get down there. They tell me I have a 4:00 call time, right? So I'm sitting at Damien's house in his hot tub, just chilling. Like, oh, I got like 3 hours before I got to be there. All of a sudden, he calls me. He's like, "You got to get here now." I was like, "You got to be kidding me." So like, I like jump in the shower. I fly down to the performance center, which is not far from where he lived, and I get there, set up my gear or whatever. And they go through the dress rehearsal and I can't hear anything. They're like, oh, we'll just blast you in the house monitors and you're going to be able to hear everything. And I couldn't hear his music. I could barely hear my guitar. So Triple H comes up. He's like, what do you need? I was like, I need some kind of monitoring system, right? And I figured they'd just give me like a little floor wedge or something. And literally, dude, like within a half a minute, like a production guy had like an in-ear monitor system with my name, Chaz, like written on tape. I was like, how did you like get that quickly? Like, it's one thing, like I thought it was going to take like a couple minutes, but no, they had an awesome in-ear mix and it was ready to go. Like it was queued up perfectly.
That's awesome.
Yeah. They made it such a breeze. And that was actually my first time ever using in-ears. Like I always use floor monitors.
Right.
So
how was that? How was the in-ears?
It was weird. Like I ended up doing one of these where like I took one out. So
took one out.
Yeah, and I kept the one in. So I think I had whatever side my amp was on, I had that ear out so I could hear my amp a little bit more. And it was fine. It was awesome. I could hear everything perfectly. It'd be weird though to know how that feels as a full band. I feel like it's gotta, and everyone I've talked to, all my touring friends, they're like, it kind of takes some of the life out of the performance, some of the vibe. But then like they always tell me they always have like the crowd mic'd into their in-ears so they can hear the crowd. Which
they have a room fucking mic mixed into their in-ears?
Yeah, like the guys in Flames and like Dark Tranquility, they have in-ears, but then they have like a house mic that points out to the house and they can actually hear and feel the crowd, which is dope.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Makes total sense because, you lose that thunder and the power and all that stuff. Yeah, it's weird using the in-ears, but probably worth it. It's probably worth it because I can't tell you how many times I've fucking shown up to a venue. I'm like, this is what we have here.
Yeah,
Is it the monitors? Great.
like the Chance or like the Loft in
Yeah.
Poughkeepsie. No
Jesus.
knock on the venue, but yeah, there's been
Right.
some questionable monitor systems. I remember playing a gig one time, and the monitoring system was like jury rigged with like actual speaker stereo speakers from like a home
Right.
entertainment system. I was like, oh no, when in doubt just crank your amp, you know.
Fuck yeah. So let's go back now and talk about coming up in the Jersey metal scene. When did you start playing? Like, and what was your first band? What was your first interaction in playing clubs in North Jersey?
Well, I was really young, man. I started at like 14 years old. And my first interaction was with clubs and like actually being in like an actual scene and circuit was Lemore's in Brooklyn and Bay Ridge. And then in Jersey, it was Obsessions. Remember Obsessions
Yeah.
in Randolph?
Hated that place.
Yeah, dude, we should get into the war stories about that place. So it was those two places, CBGB's. And then
Is
like
Obsession still open?
now, well, definitely not now, but
Right.
I don't think so. I think like they had reopened at one point,
Gotcha.
but it didn't go over too well. They had a
They
real
were
bad reputation.
they
too.
were the pay to play model. Like
Oh.
they suckered every band into selling 1 million tickets for nobody.
and it wasn't dude, sucker is an understatement. Like I remember, so my first band we were called Arbitrary, and it's funny, dude. Like I think I had this conversation with you like maybe about a year ago when we ran into each other at a show.
In Flames.
Yeah. I remember when my old band Arbitrary, we would hang out with like some dude who had a drum set at his house, and you and JV came over when you guys were still in Angelson, and like we just jammed. Like we just jammed. Like I don't even know. We think we played Misfit songs actually.
Right.
And then I think you had thought about trying out my friend as a drummer, which I don't think like his vibe just did not match what you guys were doing.
Right.
And so that was short lived, but that was like my first introduction to you. And during that time, we had built up like a little bit of a scene in like I say like quote unquote on upstate New York in Rockland County, New York. And we had like 2 or 3 venues that we would play underage, but to drinking crowds, which was huge for us back then, you know?
Right.
And we were on a path. Like we had an offer on the table from Relapse Records, and we were kind of one of the first bands in the New York area to be doing the melodic death metalcore thing. You know, you had like Shadows Fall and Unearth and Killswitch, and all those bands were doing it and starting to come up. But we were like maybe 4 or 5 years younger than them, and we were doing it. But then you know how it is in bands, dude. Like you have members who kind of like, you know, they don't pull their weight or they get hooked on drugs or whatever. So, you know, it's unfortunate that band didn't last because we were definitely onto something. But so it's funny when I watch like all these years later when bands kind of jump on trends of like a sound, and I'm like, I look back, I'm like, you know what? It makes me proud to know that like for like 20 years, for the most part, you know, every band I've been in has still been like more or less a melodic death metal band, maybe with some like more hardcore influence or whatever, but the root is still like melodic death metal. But yeah, man, that was like my first upbringing. Like we became like kind of a staple at Lemore's for like a good 2 years. That was like our home away from home. And that place is legendary, man. Like to this day, people don't understand like the way the shows like were even thrown back then was unbelievable. But I'll never, if Obsessions opened tomorrow, I would never go back there. But I remember we played a show and we got a show offer, you know, pay to play, and it was supposed to be Danzig and 6 Feet Under because they were on tour at the time. So we're like, hell yeah, man. And when you're in high school, you could sell tickets pretty quickly. You know, like everyone and their mother comes out to those shows. You know, word of mouth is easy when you're in high school. So we like promote the hell out of the show. We sell like way above and beyond what the minimum ticket was. And we get there and it's just 6 Feet Under. And the guy, I'll never forget his name, Bill of Obsessions. He was like, oh, I never said Danzig. I said Danzig's opening act, 6 Feet Under. So that's how he like scammed us to play the show and sell all these tickets because we couldn't believe that Danzig was going to play such a small, like intimate setting.
Right.
You know?
Obsessions of all places.
Yeah. But he got us. We almost didn't play that show, but we were always made sure that we like stayed true to our commitment regardless of the situation. Right. But yeah, man, it was hard going as a kid, you know, like, you know, a lot of lessons learned at a very young age.
Yeah. Back in those days, I was just like a chicken with no head running around. Like I didn't know what I was doing, why I was doing it. Just like, let's go. Let's just do stuff.
Yeah. And
That was
that's the way
that.
you got to do it, man. Like to this day, like, you know, kids today definitely have a lot at their disposal with the internet, and like they can learn so much even by like tuning into like podcasts like this and like interviews and stuff. You get a lot of insight from lifers and people who've been in the
Yeah.
industry and who have done it. But I still say that like the best lessons and the best way you can learn is not by the things you've done right. It's by the things you've done wrong and figured out, oh, why didn't that work? And then kind of adjust from there.
So obviously, big influence is In Flames. How did you get with those guys? Because I know you've actually traveled around and seen them in Europe and a whole bunch of other places, and you became friendly with them. How did that happen? And yeah, describe your relationship with In Flames.
Um, Again, goes back about 20 something years. They were on their second US tour for Clayman, which they just celebrated, I believe, 20-year
Yeah.
release of that. And they were coming through to L'Amour's, and we were finally at a prime spot as a band. Like, even though our demos sucked and like the recordings were awful and it was all old material, we were at a prime spot where we're actually like a really strong band now. And we're like, yo, and that was another dream. We had always said, like, if we can open for In Flames, right? That was like our big goal. And my guitar player called me up one day and he's like, you know, I just got off the phone with the bookers at L'Amour, and they have an opening slot for In Flames. It's actually direct support for the tour. So it was them, Walls of Jericho, Earth Crisis, and Skin Lab.
Damn.
So yeah, sick
Old school
tour.
names. Damn. Walls of
Yeah,
Jericho. I haven't heard that name in forever.
and Walls of Jericho were like brand new, like they were
Right.
real up and coming. And we were like, yeah, dude, like let's take it immediately. So we took it, of course, sold the tickets, and crazy funny stories. I remember being like there during load in and setup and sound check, and I saw some dude like talking to the band, and I thought like maybe he was their manager or something, because he was like following them around. Like every step they made, he was right behind them. So finally, like I went up to him and I was like, hey, man, you think you can get the guys in Flames to watch my band set? You know, like we worked really hard to be here. We're being fanboys. You know, we're like
Right.
16, 17 years old at the time. And he's like, oh, I don't know if they'll have time for that tonight. You know, he pulls one of those things. Come to find out, he wasn't like working with the camp at all. He was like some college journalist, and
Oh, really?
yeah, yeah. So
He was just up their ass.
yeah, exactly. But I didn't know any better as a kid. So long story short, we play our set about a song or two in. The crowd, like our reception was really good. Place blew up, it exploded, and Anders, the singer, and Jesper, the guitar player, came and just sat behind the amps on stage and watched our whole set. And I actually still have the old Handycam footage, and you actually see me look over and I see them while I'm playing drums, and I just like start
Right.
yelling like with excitement. So that was my first hookup with them. We hit it off. I think they appreciated that there was an American band kind of taking from their sound at the time, which not a whole lot of bands were doing. New metal was the real rage at the time.
Right.
So we kind of earned some respect from them that night. And then, you know, as a fan, I would go to a show here and there when they would come through the area. And, you know, just I would normally just wait after the show to hang out with them and whatever. And we'd go out drinking and do whatever. And I think it was after their show with like Dillinger Escape Plan and Nevermore and Shadows Fall, which is another sick like billing.
Yeah.
They were like, they told me, they're like, you guys are more than welcome to all of our shows for free, you know, from now on, you know, just like get in contact with us when we're coming through or whatever. So the rest of my bandmates never like lived up to that. You know, they didn't like, they did their thing. Me personally, that was one of my dreams. Those are some of my heroes. So I always lived up to that. And sure enough, they played CBGBs on that same tour. And
Really?
they did Skater World. I don't know if you remember Skater World. They were supposed to play. Yeah, they were supposed to play Rec Room, and Rec Room was notorious for canceling shows last minute. And sure enough, they canceled the show day of. And so they scoured around, found this place, Skater World, which had like a little venue built into it. And they ended up playing. Dillinger Escape Plan was a local band at the time and jumped on the bill last second.
Yeah.
And it was after that CBGB show that they were like, they made an announcement right before, I believe it was like Bullet Ride or something. They're like, this goes out to Arbitrary. You guys are welcome to all of our shows for the rest of your life for free. And so I held them to it, you know? And we talked about, you know, like we talk about like learning things and learning the right way to do things. I made it my mission from that day forward to just really study them, study like the right way to go about being a band and handle yourself as professionals. Everything from the setup to the breakdown to interviews to signings to performing on stage, sound check, everything. And I was taking mental note after mental note after mental note. And so anytime I got into a band, I would try to hold the band standard up to that level. Even though we weren't there, I was like, this is what we need to do to hang with these cats. And you know, as the years progressed, I got closer and closer with them. I've had some of them like stay with me when they're in the States, and and you know, I've flown out. You know, I would like plan a vacation, let's say like trekking through Europe, and then they would just so happen to have like their hometown show on the same trip. So they'd invite me out to the shows, and you know, I'd hang with them. And now we're just all like really close friends, and it just sucks that we're in a pandemic because I really miss them. Like I get to see them usually like 4 times a year. And now I haven't seen them like in like a year and a half or something. So it's crazy.
Yeah. I feel that hard, man, because, you know, I was traveling a lot, and, you know, you see all these different groups of friends from each city like once or twice a year.
Yeah.
And this year, I didn't see one fucking person this year, you know? Like,
no, not a single person, you know? And then you figure at the very least, you could always like head out to Dingbats, right? And like catch a local show and see some of your homies. And we don't even have that. It sucks.
Yeah. And, you know, you just build up like really awesome relationships with people all around the fucking world, man. So to not have that in my life has been a major bummer, but fucking, it just sucks, man.
At least you have this though, which is dope. Like, you know, like I got to watch the episode you did with Jay Tarantino of Aetherius and Angel Vivaldi. And I could tell that you guys were just genuinely having a great time. And you could tell that you guys were excited to be able to see each other and communicate. And so thank God we have this type of technology to at least be able to do this.
I was so stoked with that dude, like finding out that like he was doing exactly the same things I was doing when we were like trying to learn how to play and shit like that.
Yeah.
Just we didn't know each other, just completely independent from each other, but kind of just doing the same exact things.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the influence runs deep, you know, like, and that's what's awesome connecting with like other like minds and other professionals in the business, is that you start finding out just how many similarities, no matter how different we are as individuals, like our roots and like what drives us to get better is like usually like pretty spot on with one another, you know?
So in 2009, Joe's here, he'll probably fucking help me out with this, but like I guess 2009-ish, we started the Doomsday Prophecy and started playing out. At that time, you were in which band?
Will Kilmore.
Yeah,
and that's how I got like really connected with you and JV, and it's awesome. Like I was like getting amped up when you had your intro going, because I was like, oh, some Doomsday, all right.
Yeah, I got to be careful with what I play here, because like YouTube sends out those DMCA notices, so like I try to make sure that everything I play is like it's mine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I still get flagged for my own stuff. It's crazy, because you'll do like a digital distribution through like CD Baby or like
if you do any of that, like if you've run your shit through that, it'll tell, YouTube will be able to tell, and like you'll get flagged for your own shit.
Yeah.
But the Doomsday stuff did not go through CD Baby, so
smart.
Right.
The legacy continues.
Right.
Dude, I'm still waiting for the day when there's a Doomsday reunion, man. I love that band. I absolutely love that band. Like watching you guys, like when we would play live, I was always like, all right, that's like, we need to step up our like, because Will Kilmore was like a fun band. We definitely were a really good live band. Like we had a lot of great stage energy and the crowd dug us. But myself and our other guitar player, Steve Toth, were always like, we need to be more musically proficient. And I think after we played with you guys,
Steve was awesome.
Yeah,
I loved Steve.
Yeah, Steve's an awesome player. He's an awesome dude. And he was actually the real driving force to make it. Like, I remember the first time he was like, you need to play to a click, like because I was the drummer in Will Kilmore. So he's like, you got to play to a click all the time. And these little things that we did, and like the things that we picked up by like playing with bands like Doomsday Prophecy, we're like, all right, we need to be more musically proficient, because you know what, this like fun loving, like drinking on stage band's only going to last so long. Like we need to really prove ourselves to like the other players out there. And I think we kind of made it our mission. Like after we would play with you guys, after every show, we'd be like, yo, Doomsday killed it tonight. Like, like we messed up a whole chorus on like a metalcore chug song. Like, this is unacceptable. We need to up our game big time. But yeah, man, like
It's funny that we became like, you know, the band's favorite band.
right,
Like,
the band's
band,
yeah.
Yeah, we became like that band. We were like the band's band.
Yeah. And I mean, you could tell that you guys had like your head and your heart in the right place. Like just your grind too. I remember like back like on MySpace, you know, like I could see like I could identify with your grind because I was like, oh, they're like they've been in the game for a minute. They're all seasoned. You could tell that you guys were doing this. You had the experience in other bands. You weren't some fly by night bands. You all had like experience, and I could identify with that really, really hard. And that's why, like, I think for like you said, like you guys became like the band's band or like the workers band because I think not just myself, but I'm sure like guys like Will and Thanatonic, like he probably same thing, like can recognize recognizes real, you know, and
Yeah.
you guys definitely like you didn't give a shit about like what the billing was. You were like, we're just gonna come out and play like awesome metal. And you know, that's all I could ever ask for at a show. You know how many shows we played, dude, and Will Kilmore, where I was like, why are we playing with these bands? You know, like we're like and I'm a jack of all trades. Like I love all music. I have a real soft spot for like emo music. Like I love bands like Silverstein and Bayside. Like I love all music. But I was like, when I'm playing a show and I'm on a billing, like I want to get like super amped up. And like so many times I could tell that bands were just going through the motions and like following a trend. And I never got that from you guys. And that's why like I always loved playing with you.
Yeah, no, I don't we never even had that in our mind. It wasn't even a part of the mindset. We just played what we wanted to play, what we liked playing, and that was that. I mean, playing with other like shitty bands, man, I definitely feel that. Especially in those days, there were a lot of pretenders. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there definitely were. And I even think like I'm not going to throw anyone in the Will Kilmore camp under the bus because like I'm still cool with all those guys.
Right.
But I think even in the Will Kilmore camp, I always struggled on like a personal level because I felt there were times where like some of the members would be like, oh, we need to go more this route or we need to go more that route. We need to, this band's doing this and that band's doing that. And my whole thing was just like, let's just create like the best metal that we can. And that's honest and true to who we are. And I think there came to a certain point where like Steve and I were doing that. Like on that second record we did, it was just like all mostly like a lot of like Steve's influence and then me like with the arrangements. And I was like, all right, now we're finally writing some like kick-ass metal. Awesome. But you could tell that like we had other people talking in our ear, like Jesse Corman from the Number 12 Looks Like You. He's the lead singer. He like was thinking about like producing us at that point, and he came to a couple of rehearsals, and he was like, "You need to make your choruses bigger, and you need to do this and that." And kind of right there, I was just like, "Oh man, we're letting the wrong people determine our fate right now." You know, no knock on his success and what he does, and I'm sure his ear and what he wanted for that band, there's probably some real merit to it, but like at the same time, I want to play this music that I create for me first and foremost.
Right.
And if people love it, then that's awesome, you know?
Yeah, you're not looking to fit this mold of what a record label's looking for or anything like that.
Right. And to be honest, the record labels don't even want that, right? Like, like they find the originators of that sound, and then they'll capitalize for like 3 or 4 years on the people like riding the coattails. So like I already knew, I was like, you know, all these sounds they've been done for 5 years now. Like all these bands are coming out like sounding like each other. Like let's just do us, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I've always struggled with like, you know, what the expectations are versus what I want to do. Like it's always like a fine line where you got to walk it.
Yeah. There comes a point where there has to be, I guess, some kind of compromise if you want to succeed in certain things. Like, for instance, if I went to NXT and I was like, "What's up, motherfuckers?" Like, I was like, I start spitting water all over the place during the pandemic.
Yeah. What's up, Triple H?
Yeah, exactly. And in the back of my mind, the mark in me wants to do that, but of course I wasn't gonna. But like, again, skating that fine line, you have to know like what's going to work on a professional level and when to compromise certain things to further excel your career.
Yeah, those days, I like those days. You know, looking back at the Doomsday Prophecy times, man, it was good times. I felt like that circle of bands, we had like a really good like little community, good connection with each other. And I really haven't had like that kind of community type of thing really went away after that for me.
And I don't think it's just for you. I think it's in general, because I still keep my ear to like I keep my ear to the streets, like
Right.
so like I still go to like a ton of local shows and seeing what's going on, and there just seems to be like such separation between the bands and what they do. Like a lot of times the bands don't even stick around for the other bands anymore, and that was something we all always did. Like we always watched each other, we stuck around, we hung out, because there's things we can learn from each other, and we all knew that, like, all right, 2 months leading into this show together, we're all building it up in the same way on our respected levels. So there's some camaraderie and respect for one another. And I think now with like social media and the way people promote themselves and the way they try to get over with their fans, there is a disconnect. And I think a lot of young bands already want to be on this national status before they are. And they kind of carry themselves in a way that they think national bands would carry themselves.
Right.
And inevitably it causes this weird scene that I don't even know if I want to call it a scene. But that's not to say that there aren't scenes in other places.
It's
I
like
just think
better than you attitude.
Yeah, maybe. Or like, like our shit's like awesome. Look at us, check us out, top that. But then on the flip side, I see like on an individual level, like a player of a certain band, like always putting over the success of players in other bands.
Yeah.
So I think maybe it's become more like person to person as opposed to like a group collective now.
Right. That's weird. I guess that totally makes sense, but yeah. Let's talk your band now. Who's in your band?
It's myself, our new singer Ace Vincent, our drummer Zachy Ali, which we'll get into. We know who Zachy
is like
very
every
well.
Band now, so
yeah. We have a new bass player, Ray, and my longtime childhood friend Greg Geiler, who's also on guitar. But yeah,
what made you start the Silencer? What because you were coming off something else at the time, and you were like, all right, I'm gonna do this on my own. What made you what spurred that on?
Well, we just touched based on like when I was in Will Kilmore, and I kind of like was getting that feeling of like, hey, like we should just be focused on writing honest music that we love and not be worried about what other people think. So I had left that band, and I've always played guitar. I've been playing guitar since I'm like, I don't know, 11, 12 years old. But everyone always knew me as the metal drummer. Right. So I kind of just wanted to like, originally the goal for the Silencer was to like put out singles, and on every single I would invite new musicians. So at one point I would have tapped into you. I would have tapped into JV. The first single had Daryl Cherry, who played in None Shall Be Spared and Torch the Throne. He did vocals with me and played bass. And then JP Andrade, who now plays with Kalius with Zachy Ali and he does session work for Allegiant.
He's awesome.
Yeah, he's another beast. And so originally it was just a passion project to have fun with friends and like really network and communicate with other musicians that I really like admired in the scene, because there was still like that scene at the time. Put out one single, and then I signed on with Julius Caesar to be lead singer, and I put the Silencer off to the side, put it on the back burner, and that became like the vicious cycle. Like I would put out a single, sign on with the band, leave that band, put out another single, so on and so forth.
Julius Caesar, that was Steve's band, right?
Yeah, yes, I will say that was Steve's band. So that came off the coattails of Will Kilmore, and at first they kind of billed themselves as formerly known as Will Kilmore, because they had Steve, they had Brian, who played bass in Will Kilmore, and then they had Kyle Wilson, who was the drummer who replaced me for like a couple months, and he was on drums. He's another beast of a drummer too.
He was. I was just about to say,
yeah,
he was a beast.
Yeah, he's spot on, like perfect. Like he would not settle. He's a perfectionist. He will not settle for anything less than 100%, like perfect. So, I sang in that band for a while, and that was an awesome experience for the most part. And then like I left that band, and like I just had some personal stuff going on. Like I got out of like, because as you know, like being in a band's tough, and sometimes it puts a strain on your relationships, or better yet, it puts a strain on you personally and emotionally. Right. And then you can't handle everyday life. Like you want every day to be like that high from a show, or you want every day that you want to have like that admiration for people. It's very hard at a young age to separate the two, and I was struggling with that for a little while. And I left the band. I kind of like denounced music. I was like, oh, it's all music's fault that I'm in this position. It was me. Like, it was me not owning my own shit. And so I got the itch again. I went out to Gothenburg, Sweden, and I saw all my In Flames friends and the guys from Dark Tranquility, and like it's just a huge collective group of friends. Like, everyone's friends out there, and they just happen to be connected to bands, and they have side bands. And then I'm introduced to like all their like childhood friends or whatever. So like I become fond of these people. So I go out and I see them, and In Flames had just done like another hometown show in Gothenburg at the Scandinavium. And I was just like, why am I giving up music? This is so stupid. Like, this is the life, dude. Like, I just got to put myself in check. And that was it. That was the catalyst. And from that moment on, I put the silencer back on 4-wheel motion or whatever, and then made it a live band and started doing what we're doing.
Dude, I remember the first time I was in Gothenburg. I'm just walking around. I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
I went to some fucking rock bar. I forgot I think it was just called the Rock Bar.
Yeah, the Rock Bar. I think that is what it's called.
And I'm just like sitting there. I'm like, this is awesome. Just sitting to my drinking and being like, just being in awe that I was even there.
Yeah, I mean, I can equate it to like the first time a guy in a band who like really was influenced by like the grunge scene, like the first time they went out to Seattle. Or if you were in like like any just metal scene, you went out to the Sunset Strip. The first time you're at the Sunset Strip, you know, it's like, wow, all of my like musical heroes that I inspired to like replicate or create a sound that's like reminiscent of theirs, they all did it right here.
Right,
you know? So, you know, the first time I went out there was the same thing. I was just in awe. And like, I didn't go during the summer. I always travel. It's weird. I travel Europe in the winter, like all the time.
Right.
So that's when you get to see the real, like, you know, like it's the real down.
I was there on the edge. It was the end of winter coming into spring, but nice. it was still fucking winter in Sweden.
Yeah. It's almost always winter in Sweden.
Right.
Yeah.
And we were there, I guess late March probably.
Okay.
And still winter there. We played Gothenburg, then we played in Norway, a couple of shows in Norway.
In Oslo? Was it Oslo?
Oslo, and then we played in Trudenheim.
Okay.
It was really winter there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. On my last trip, I went out to Norway too, right after Sweden. Well, it was like in between. I like went Sweden, Norway, back to Sweden.
Right.
And it was
because Oslo and Gothenburg, they're just right there.
Yeah. We took a bus ride. Funny story, like, you know, it's nothing like for me to like, the bus was empty, right? So I'm like laying down on the floor of the bus, and like this inspector comes in, like I guess there's like a border, and the border inspector comes on, he like kicks me, he like nudges me, he's like, he says something in Norwegian. I was like, I don't know what he's saying. And my friend Justin at the time was just like, I think he wants you to get your ass up and like sit down. Like, and sure enough, that's what he wanted. He wanted me to like not lay down on the floor of a bed. But Oslo was crazy. We went into like that black metal shop that's out there. I forgot the name of it, but it's I don't think it's the one that like the dude from Mayhem started, but it might be. I don't know. It was like, it looked just like it though. But like, it sucked, dude, because, you know, like being a fan of music, I like gathered all the stuff I was gonna buy. Like, I got like hundreds of dollars worth of shit I was gonna buy, and then like my card wouldn't go through. And he's like, oh, there's an ATM like down the road or whatever, like down the road. I was like, by that point, so I left like all these cool imports behind that I never got my hands on. But Norway's cool too. They have they have a couple sick venues out there.
Yeah, fucking. We played in Oslo. We were just there for the night, unfortunately. We played the show, and then I hung out with some fans after the show for the night, but then we had to leave early in the morning, so I really didn't get to like experience Oslo the way someone else visiting there would. Yeah,
we only did a day. We did one day and one night, and then we were supposed to take a tram or like a train back to Sweden, and the train stopped running earlier than they were supposed to, so we were stuck in the train station until like 6 a.m. or whatever it was, or 5 a.m. and like fire alarms are going off, so they make everyone leave the train station. And they have a thing about you resting in Norway, because they wouldn't let you, like, you know, you go to Grand Central Station, or you go to like anywhere in the city, like, and you see people just like parking out like on the park benches and like laying down and waiting and they wouldn't let us do that. They're like, you have to sit upright, and I was like, oh Jesus. But yeah, it was an odd experience in Norway. But man, I wouldn't trade those experiences for the world. Like, you're very fortunate.
That place is magical.
Yeah,
it is like a fairy tale land.
It is, and everyone's like, for the most part, except for like the security, everyone's like
really
super
nice,
super
really
friendly,
nice.
like overly friendly. It's scary. But we're not used to that. The New Yorkers and New Jerseyans, we're not used to that.
Yeah, dude. Even coming down here to Nashville when I moved here, my first instinct is just to be, myself. Right. And people here, like, all right, getting a cup of coffee, for example. You walk up to the counter, and then the lady's just like, "Oh, it's just a beautiful day, ain't it?" It's the sun's out, birds are chirping, and today I'll probably go out, take the dog out for a hike. And I'm like, "Lady, give me my fucking coffee."
Yeah, hurry up, come on, I got shit to do.
I am not in the mood for this.
Yeah, no.
And I am just like, I've realized that I am an asshole, and it's partly due to where I'm from, but also just partly I'm an asshole.
Well, if you were a good old Southern boy, it might be a little different,
right?
But you could take the boy out of Jersey, but you can't take Jersey out of the boy.
Dude, it's hard. I really had to like consciously like pull back. Like you can't be that way. Aggressive is, they take that aggression kind of like you're some sort of fucking dickhead, like crazy dickhead.
Yeah, or the devil.
But in Jersey, it's just part of the rat race. Like right. You're competing for the same time and space as everyone else that's getting up and going to work and doing the things and getting coffee or whatever the fuck that you're doing at that any given moment. Everyone is also trying to do that.
Yeah.
And everyone's in a hurry. And so, yeah, it just creates this tension and attitude of like, I'm going here to get this done. Let's fucking do it. Let's get out.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
down here, it's different.
Southern living. Yeah. I mean, there's something to be said about that grind though. It sets you up like to do the kinds of things that we do. I think you really do need to have that like go-getter's mindset.
100%. The work ethic down here sucks.
Yeah. My cousin lives out in North Carolina, and he told me like this. He goes, down here, I'm always just doing, because he's from New York and he's a hustler. And he's like, around here, everyone says they're fixing to do it. Like they're getting ready to
do it. Yeah.
I'm fixing to get it done. Well,
he's ready. I'm getting ready to do it.
Yeah. He's like, well, motherfucker, I already did it. So like what?
Right. I was fixing to do it.
Well, fix me a cup of coffee and stop telling me about your life.
Yeah, the work ethic down here really, really lacks. You can tell that part of the equation was never there, so they don't have that same urgency or purpose. You know what I mean? Like,
well, Nashville's a grind though, right? Like, especially with the music scene. Like, you got all different walks of life there, right?
Yeah. Nobody's actually from Nashville.
Yeah.
Everyone's a fucking transplant. So
yeah, it's like Florida.
There's a lot of that. Also, we're getting a lot of LA people coming here because I guess either the real estate's cheaper or whatever the fuck is happening. But like,
and country music's the rage, man. Pop country.
Well, it's big, but now everything's here. So like all production people are down here.
Okay.
It's for every genre. It doesn't matter.
I noticed that it's like that with Georgia too for movie production. Like if you look at the end credits of like every movie, it's like Georgia. There's something going on with LA, man. I love LA. Like a lot of New Yorkers don't like LA. I love LA, but I think it's because I know the rich history in the entertainment business of it all, and I'm like a huge like connoisseur of like history, music history, entertainment history, and I have a real soft spot when I go out there. But I love Nashville too. I actually, like, the first time I toured through there, I said to myself, I was like, I could see myself living here. Like, I really dug it.
The downtown's funny. Like, you go down to the Broadway section and just honky tonk bands playing.
Yeah.
Every fucking bar is just honky tonk.
Honky tonk. And then like all the female singers are like perfect. They're like gorgeous and they sound perfect, like pitch perfect. So it's awesome now.
Yeah, there's a lot of fucking killer singers down here that just no one's ever fucking heard of them, seen them, nothing. And I'm like, it's like, damn.
I won't be surprised if I start seeing you in assless chaps after the pandemic. A cowboy hat, assless chaps, and acoustic guitar. Do it up, man. We're getting old.
I'm actually going to this place Bowie's after this.
All right.
to see a friend's band
Nice.
to go down in Broadway and play some honky tonk. So
Hell yeah.
you
Play
know,
some Johnny Cash.
during a pandemic, you gotta do what you gotta do. I might be one of those guys just fucking sitting there just playing some guitar for a fucking cover band or honky tonk band or whatever. Because I've been practicing my chicken picking, dude.
Oh, that's not hard. That's hard stuff. That's not easy.
Hard.
Yeah, John 5 has that on lock. His chicken picking's next level. Like
it's fucking hard, dude.
I can't even fathom that, dude. Like I said, I'll be honest. First and foremost, I don't think I'm a good guitarist. I think like I'm a good like metal guitarist. Like I write cool metal riffs. And like I can write stuff outside of metal, but like in terms of being like a full blown like guitar player like yourself, like I can't even wrap my head around some of that stuff sometimes. Like sweep arpeggios, I still can't do. I still can't do it.
I'm endlessly in the search of knowledge and practicing. Like I'm always figuring new things out. There's always something new to learn that I haven't done or anything. So like, yeah, I'll just go on fucking YouTube and all right, chicken picking, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so you know, I started off with like the real basics of how to fucking hold the pick, but now I can chicken pick like a motherfucker.
Dude, Doomsday, when the Doomsday Prophecy returns, first song's gotta have chicken picking right before the breakdown.
Dude, I mean, you could get like crazy solo sounds with some chicken picking.
Oh hell yeah. And I've noticed that a lot of lead players are actually like they're pulling that out of their hat, like to a degree. Like if they're running some kind of scale, they're still like picking with their fingers too. And
the
then
dude from Revocation does that.
Yes,
awesome.
Yes,
he's sick.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. I love that band. Another band that like holds true to the roots of what they love. You know.
Yeah, and they're all over the place. Like you could tell it's rock and roll, it's metal, it's a bunch of stuff. That guitar player is just amazing. JV's here. He says Will Kilmore was one of the very, very few bands in that scene who understood there was more to it than just writing, playing, and slaying. Will Kilmore was never caught with their pants down. They were as professional as it got in that circuit. They never got up. They're too drunk and blew it. They always gave 100%, always had killer gear, merch, and art, overall presentation, and they never looked or sounded bad. Even that shitty new singer they had couldn't make them suck.
I think, is he referring to when they turned to Julius Caesar? JV, I love JV, man. I miss him. Unbelievable. I appreciate the kind words, dude. Like, and same thing with Doomsday. Like, it goes back to what we're talking about, that like respect for that grind, you know?
Yeah.
that other singer. Yeah, he's definitely referring to like when they like made the transition to Julius Caesar.
Right.
Oh, damn.
Fucking yeah, but I don't know. I just always I'm a lifer, you know what I mean? So I've always just I didn't try to be a certain way. I just did it. You know what I mean? Like,
well, that's what it is, dude. You don't stop. Right. Like, and like, I always love the song Lifer by Down. Like, it's like my mantra, you know, like,
right.
And like, even putting over today's talk, I was like, my fellow lifer, you know, low key, because it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, you don't stop despite what's going on in the scene, despite what the new hotness is, despite all the bullshit, you just stay true and you love what you do. And like, you have a passion for it, and you're going to, if an opportunity presents itself, even if it means that you got to like eat some shit to make the opportunity happen, even though you've been around it all at this point, you'll still probably do it because you love what you do. And that's what makes you a lifer, is like always getting up and being willing to grind and realizing that an opportunity you have today might not be there tomorrow. And you might need to put in double the work tomorrow that you did the last 5 years for something. You never know. So I'm with you, man. Like, lifers, like, it's a badge of honor, you know?
JV saying Doomsday absolutely got too drunk and blew it sometimes.
I couldn't tell. We definitely got too drunk after the shows. That we were fucking animals after the shows.
Yeah, we knew we got that part of the equation down right. Had a party after the show.
Yeah.
We were pretty good at that.
Yeah.
I mean, people should have known right from the very first fucking video we put out. It's just us drinking throughout the whole video.
That's right. We didn't have a video for Will Kilmore, but I remember in Julius Caesar, the whole thing was putting up Pabst Blue Ribbon everywhere, like drinking before the shoot, drinking on the shoot, drinking after the shoot. And I definitely can contribute. I can say that like the ulcer I have today is from the excessive drinking of when I was younger.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I stayed with whiskey, true and true. So
Yeah, that became my poison for a while. I'm coming up on like a little over a year, like completely stone cold sober now.
completely sober.
Yeah, just like
How's that treating you?
it's fine. It's crazy. Like I thought that I was gonna go through like crazy withdrawals. I probably did and just didn't realize it. But like,
Right.
I definitely got fat. Like I put on a lot of weight after I stopped drinking.
After you stopped?
Well, when
Isn't that supposed to be the opposite?
it's supposed to be the opposite, but like what I noticed was first off, I started gaining weight when I was drinking because I switched from like light beer to just straight like Jack and Cokes or like Jack and
Right.
Gingers. And then I started putting on some pounds. I was getting fat. And then when I stopped, your body's craving sugar all the time because you turn the alcohol into sugar.
Mhm.
So like I would just like find myself going to Dunkin' Donuts. I was always a fitness guy. And I'm like, I need munchkins. I need a fucking Snickers, you know? Like so all of a sudden all this weight starts packing on. I'm finally starting to trim down a little bit. But yeah, man, I think that was the only real negative side effect after I stopped drinking was putting on so much weight. But yeah, it was easy. Like now, like if I go out, everyone's drinking, it's fine. But I definitely know I had a problem at one point because there was some crazy shit that was going down towards the end there. And that's why I was like, all right, I need to stop. I actually had a situation where the guy that we were using to direct our videos before, Alex at Black Wolf Imaging, he had a party for his girlfriend. It was like a surprise 30th party at his house. And I showed up and everything was fine. And out of nowhere, apparently I became like an animal and like a switch went off. Come to find out, someone put something in my drink at that party. And here I am at the time, I'm 38 now. So it was what, like 36 and a half, whatever. And fucking, I jumped out of a moving car, apparently. Like I almost knocked out a nurse. I went to the hospital.
Holy shit.
Yeah, like crazy. I checked myself out of the hospital, like got an Uber. I don't know any of this. My girlfriend tells me the whole story. And it was in that moment I was like, all right, I think I'm done. Because if I'm in a position to get inebriated enough to not realize what my surroundings are,
right,
well, that's not a good thing for me. It's not a good thing for the people I love.
For anybody, yeah.
Yeah. So I've just been stone cold sober. You know, it's weird. I didn't know there was a life without alcohol.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm home, I don't do it that often. But when on the road, it becomes part of like
it does
the everyday.
And it's the only way to come down too. It's like you're still on high. You still have this like natural high from being on stage, and like you get done, and like by the time you load out, it's like 3 a.m. and you're like.
It also like I don't know. Maybe I don't have anxiety to play like. To be on stage and play, I don't have anxiety for that, but I do get anxiety to just get up there and start doing it. Like,
yeah, same here.
The lead up to do it is fucking.
Yeah.
So like, I learned like the exact amount that I would need to drink before I could just get up and not give a fuck, but also not be drunk.
Right, right. Like, to just be loose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that became like part of the concoction. Like, all right, it's a half hour to playtime. All right, I need to get this amount of whiskey in me.
Yeah, I'll say that to this day, I've never once, that I can recall, I've never gone on stage with more than maybe a shot in me before. Like, and that was even rare because like when I was playing drums, I had to be as fast and as precise as I had to be.
Right.
So like I never drank before a show playing drums. Then when I started singing, I would take like a shot to like kind of numb the throat beforehand or whatever.
Throat coat.
Yeah, but for me, I was never able to drink before a show because it would slow me down. And like my judgment, even one drink, my judgment wouldn't be razor sharp. And like, I always wanted to be like, and like I started performing barefoot for a long time too on like the dirtiest stages. So I needed to know like where I'm stepping. Steve, like he was like the metal Jesus, he's like, come with me, children. And, so we followed in that footsteps. And, I don't do it now that I
would always be up there like that motherfucker. Like, does he know what Joe just did up there? He's like throwing snot rockets and shit. Like, Steve would be up there barefoot, fucking didn't care.
We would be spitting beers all over the place, and then like he's stepping in it.
Right.
But I play guitar barefoot now too. Although like if the stage is really really questionable, like splintery and shit, then I won't do it.
It's not for me. It's not for me.
I don't blame you.
So describe what you're doing today. You're at this fucking event. You're gonna be doing what? Fucking play-by-play or color commentary? What are you doing?
Color commentary mixed with play-by-play. I'm at the world famous Monster Factory right now, Paulsboro, New Jersey. Like I said, that's where me and my boy Damian Priest got our start as training as pro wrestlers. in recent years, I've become the voice of the MFPW, the silencer
Right.
Chaz Williams. And yeah, just basically doing color commentary, and I call the matches along with my broadcast partner, Ferran Burgundy. I actually haven't been here in about a year and a half, so this is my first show back with them. Kind of had the itch after NXT to come back, but also on top of that, like, I'm here to support my my colleague Ferran Burgundy. He's going through some stuff right now, so I figured it'd be cool for me to come down and kind of be there, be able to call the matches with him, so not all the pressure's on him tonight.
Right on. And what do they do? Are they like just doing a taping, or what? How's that working down there?
So it's a live show with like very, very limited seating, very
Right.
socially distanced. They have a whole new setup inside right now. They do tape all their stuff, and it does go to the MF network, or the MFP, the MF network. And then sometimes they'll put the stuff on YouTube, and then they use a lot of it for match study and to get the wrestlers prepared as they're trying to come up as pro wrestlers. So it's a little bit of everything, you know. You get the live crowd, you get some social media stuff going on when they pump the videos out, and it's a good way for me to just keep my name relevant in the world of professional wrestling.
Right.
Because those gigs, if you're doing commentary, it's not like being a wrestler. Like, you could get yourself on any show as a wrestler, really. But as a commentator, 9 times out of 10, it's the guy who's running the promotion's kid, or it's the guy himself. And the commentary is usually not that good. Like, I pride myself on like being like a good commentator. But those gigs don't come along all that often. And if they do, like, you have to drive to West Bumblefuck, and you know, so
I've seen a lot of those independent shows, and they just have hokey ass
it's hokey,
people doing
right?
Commentary.
And my whole thing is to, like, I want to deliver this, just like when I talked about like how I studied in Flames, and I wanted all my bands to deliver the same level of professionalism as them. It's the same thing here. Like, I follow the guys who do it on the main stage, the WWE, NXT, AEW, and I want to be Ring of Honor, and I want to be able to bring that same professionalism and product to even a small crowd, you know, because if you want to be seen, you want to get noticed, like, you have to be on your A game, and there's no reason not to. But it's weird, man. Indie wrestling could still be very carny, you know, in some respects. And
right. So I have friends out in Dayton that run their own promotion out.
Oh,
over
awesome.
there.
Do you know the promotion?
My friend Gigi. I'd have to look it up.
Okay.
But we I think Joe's here. Was it Darrow? I think it was Darrow, where they in between matches, you know, they would do some production. It wasn't like a live taping, so
right.
They were doing,
you transition into stuff.
So they would be transitioning. And so there would be like a good 20 minutes between matches, and like in between those matches, Darrow would play a few songs, right? And then
that's awesome.
They got us into like into one of their little skits. You know, one of the heels would come out, and like as we were playing our last song, like the heel came out and like interrupted us,
yes.
and like, you know, stopped us from playing, and then we had like back and forth with the heel, and like he threatened to come over and beat us up, and then the baby face came by and fucking saved us. Yeah.
That's the dream too. I still want that to happen. I want that moment. I want to be playing, and then some heel just like pulls the plug on us. Boo! I'm waiting for that moment.
Yeah, super fun, man. But like you said, that stuff can become carny because they try to go a little too overboard. There's no pacing to the match. They're just trying to do everything. All the time.
Yeah, no, you know? and that's one of the great things about the Monster Factory here, is that they are literally like the training grounds to prepare you for the big time. So Danny, who's the owner and operator of Monster Factory, he literally developed like this 2-ring training system, and like having the weight room, and like when people are training in the ring, other people are doing calisthenics, other people are lifting. And then if you go out to the Performance Center in Orlando for WWE,
right,
they have a much larger scale version of that, but it's the same mantra and the same exact thing that he's been doing a couple years prior to them doing it. And if you look at our roster or our alumni, Matt Riddle, he's on SmackDown.
Yeah, tell me who's come out of there.
Yeah, I mean, well, if you go back to the lineage, it's Bam Bam Bigelow, Raven, The Godfather, Chris Candido, Big Show. That's just to name a few.
Right.
King Kong Bundy. And then you a lot of the ECW guys.
Yeah.
Now you fast forward to present day, you have Steve Cutler, who was part of the Forgotten Sons. You have Matt Riddle. who's now on SmackDown. You have Damian Priest. Those are three of the mainstays in WWE. NXT.
A lot of people underestimate the power of Jersey in professional wrestling, man, because that area is all huge down the shore. Philly, fucking North Jersey too. Like, a lot of wrestlers coming out of there.
If you're in Jersey,
DDP, baby.
DDP, yeah, exactly. you got Jersey Shore, right? And then so you got like Philadelphia. Here's us. You got Philly, and you got New York. That's not the right geography, but we're in SmackDown in the middle. And for the longest time, WWE, the big market was New York, right? So that's where I think it all started for Jersey. And I think Jersey's you have like one of the strongest in the way of like independent wrestling promotions is out in Jersey. You have Wrestle Pro that's out here. Ring of Honor's like they run all their big stuff in Philly in the old ECW arena. It's the place to be if you want to be a pro wrestler. There's two places, if you ask me. It's New Jersey or going out to Georgia. My boy QT Marshall, who's over in AEW, he runs a facility now with Cody Rhodes, the Nightmare Factory. Used to be called the One Fall Power Factory. And then you see like DDP goes out there and he like helps out. Glacier's part of that. So if you want to get your start in pro wrestling, I say you either come out here to Jersey or you go out to Georgia. Those are the two premier spots. And Texas.
That Dayton promotion is called Rockstar Pro Wrestling.
Okay. I'm not familiar with them, but it's a cool name.
Yeah. The dude that helps promote it used to be in a band called the Jackalopes. Awesome band. Fucking punk rock band. Fucking
awesome. I'll check them out.
But yeah. They do a lot of really cool things, very super legit. They have an arena that they've rented out. They have a lease with, so yeah, it's pretty fucking cool over there.
Good production and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Shout out to Gigi, man. Been a minute since I talked to you, Gigi. Man, I should have him on the show next too, man. Joe's just naming wrestlers now. He's saying we trained under the Iron Sheik back in 2000. True story.
Wait, really?
Well, no, Iron Sheik came to our house one time and
amazing. That's a whole nother episode, dude.
And yeah, me and Joe have talked about it.
Oh my god.
It's fucking ridiculous. As ridiculous as you would think the Iron Sheik would be.
Oh, I can imagine. Just off of his Twitter
is
post.
his Twitter no, he is that person.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times Twitter's like a person's personality amped up a little bit.
No.
Nope, that's just the Iron Sheik.
That's him toned down on Twitter.
Right.
Because there's characters. You can only get so many characters into a tweet.
God damn. Fucking so what's next for the Silencer, and what are your plans for when things open back up?
Definitely, getting back out playing live. We were scheduled for this Blue Ridge Rock Festival out in Virginia that was rescheduled for 2021. It was actually going to be our first festival appearance. We were actually a main stage band, but now they had postponed it. But then the creators of the festival, like, I don't know, they kind of like voided the contracts and then like reworked these new contracts for 2021 that didn't sit right with me. They weren't okay. Right. So we decided to like forfeit that and say it's at this point it's not even worth it. Plus we don't even know what 2021 holds, right? So so what we decided to do is
crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. But we're gonna be back in the studio working on like our first actual EP, because up to this point we've been just running singles. It's gonna be called Curtain Call, and we'll just keep pumping out single with music video, and just build up the hype machine a little bit. And once things get back running, we want to focus on our local market first, get back to that, instead of like worrying about like, oh, well, what tour packages are coming through that we can jump on. Let's just focus on like reestablishing who we are as an act in our local market, get that strong again. And then
have you guys ever done the buy-on thing?
Yeah. But like, we're fortunate enough that like when we like sign on to one of those, we get rid of our tickets, which is awesome. We had offers to do buy-on tours, but we turned those down because they were like outlandish. It was like $15,000, no per diem, no meal. Like
you're literally just paying to be on the slot.
No, you're paying to put the gas in the truck, the bus. It wasn't gonna work for us. And if I'm gonna spend $15,000 on my
who was the band that?
So funny enough, it was Within Temptation and In Flames. But In Flames didn't know, like there was an outside talent buyer scouting the opening acts. So I ran it by their management as soon as like I got the offer, and they
That's
were
always how it goes. By the way, let me tell you, we've had Bions jump onto our tours.
Yeah.
And we had no idea what the terms were. We had no idea how much they paid to get on. We had pretty much no idea. And like as the headliner,
right,
we're supposed to get a bulk percentage of whatever the Bions pay, dude. A lot of the times they would just shadily put these Bions on and not tell us that they bought on.
Yeah, or you don't know the terms and conditions.
We don't know any of the terms.
Well, sure enough, same thing happened. Like because like I'm friends with their management, so I immediately reached out. And as a matter of fact, it was within Temptations tour. It wasn't even in Flames' tour, but they showed the offer to their management, and they were like, "If you even think of considering this, we're never hanging again. Like we're not friends anymore. Like no way, man. Like don't be an idiot." And sure enough, like we didn't do that. So, I mean, I'm not opposed to it if
it's got to be the right situation,
right
money, man.
Right money, right money. Some kind of per diem. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then like you find out like, oh well, now you have to match merch price, and like so now you can't even sell your merch because if you're going to see the headliner, we better really blow you away for you to spend $20 on a t-shirt compared to like the headliner.
Yeah, the theory there is that they the headliner, they make most of their money off of merch, and they don't want you undercutting them.
Exactly, and I understand it, but at the same time, it's like, you got to
throw us a bone.
Yeah, exactly. Like this whole thing of paying dues, I'll still pay dues, no problem. But like, I got mouths to feed too. So at the end of the day, this is a business, and I have to treat. That's the one thing is like I treat this band as a business. I'm the sole proprietor of it, so. It's everything falls on my shoulders in terms of finance, and I just got to be really smart with where I'm putting the money.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. Well, I look forward to what's fucking next for you guys, and I hope to see the full band over on NXT next time I fucking.
Hell yeah.
What's the next takeover? What are they doing next?
Next thing they're doing is War Games, which is like the old school WCW thing where they put the multiple rings in the building. I don't know yet if Damien's going to be a part of it. They're kind of building up that angle with him and Johnny Gargano, which comes off the tail end of Halloween Havoc, which I did. So I'm guessing he's going to be on it, but they haven't like promoted that yet. So who knows?
Gotcha.
But yeah, that's going to be a good pay-per-view. And I think Survivor Series with WWE, I think is tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll be good.
When do you think he gets called up to the big show?
Well,
is that a year away? Maybe 2 years?
Maybe less. No, he's on fire right now. I think it would be a mistake for them to like call him up so soon. I know that he personally would rather it. He'll take it whenever, but I think he would rather it be like when there's crowds and he can really get over as himself. Yeah. I know he's really happy where he's at right now. But I think if he were to not be in NXT right now, it would hurt NXT a little bit. So he's a big star there. So like built him up even more, get him ready for that push. But I would be lying if I said I didn't agree with him. I think waiting for him to come in when there's full live crowds and he can like really get a pop of a crowd. Yeah. That's when you want that.
I'm sure that every promotion has gone through that. Do we debut this guy? There's no crowd, but like, listen, we're going on almost 7-8 months of
almost a year
of this stuff, and like it's probably gonna go into March and be a full year of lockdown. So I don't know if you can necessarily wait. Let's wait till there's a crowd because how long knows what's gonna happen?
How long do we wait? Right. Yeah. But it's just a matter of when. It's definitely not a matter of if. I can guarantee that Vince has got his eyes on him. The guy's huge, but he moves like Shawn Michaels, and he's the size of Razor Ramon. Like, no brainer there.
That's awesome. Yeah. Good for him. Excited to fucking see what happens there, and see if you guys get fucking
WrestleMania
big show too. Yeah,
that's our next goal.
Be like Nita Strauss, fucking jamming down.
100%, dude. That's our next goal because I texted him after I got back home. I was like, we got the picture with Triple H and Shawn Michaels. They did like some cool behind the scenes documentary with me and him for WWE. Like they aired it online or whatever. And I was just like, life doesn't get much better than this. He goes, yeah, it does. We got to think about what's next. And I was just like, WrestleMania.
That's next. You got to put it out. You got to put it out into the ether, dude. You got to talk it into existence.
It's true.
I've done that so many fucking times. Like next year, I will be doing this, and then sure as shit,
Me too, man. Me too. Me too. Everything in my life has been like that.
Yeah, definitely got to talk it to existence. Also, put the fucking work in.
Yeah, yeah. Don't just talk the talk.
Yeah, people don't realize sometimes you got to put the work in.
Yeah. Well, it's like Bill and Ted. Like, well, we can't have a good band until we have Eddie Van Halen. It's like we got to learn to play guitar first. That's why we need Eddie Van Halen.
Joe's giving us a fucking geography lesson on what wrestlers are from where. King Kong Bundy is from Woodbury. Dean Malenko is from Irvington. DDP, Point Pleasant. Jim Powers is from East Rutherford. Bam Bam's from Mount Laurel. Thank you, Joe, for the wrestling geography.
Yeah, and then there's like Little Guido. He was living in Rockland, where I'm from originally. I moved to Morris County, Jersey, about a year ago.
And so apparently Enzo's from Waldwick. I didn't know that.
Yeah, oh yeah, Enzo. Actually, Enzo's in really tight with Zachy, our drummer. They're like
I saw that they were doing something.
Yeah, they're working on a bunch of stuff together, like a studio. I was helping rip up flooring to put in a studio by Enzo, and they're doing a lot of cool stuff. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen with them. Are
you doing all your work with through Zach, or are you going to a studio to do it?
Zachy, he engineers everything. Yeah, he's really become next level. Even if you compare our 2 latest singles to the 3 previous we did with him, it's night and day. You know, and I just have such a good working relationship with him. It happens so naturally and quickly. We'll lock ourselves in that studio for 12
Well, it's cool
because
that guy, all he wants to do is that. So
yeah, that's all he wants to do. And he wants to
perfect.
Be a ripping guitar player, and that helps too. Him being such a great guitar player and really knowing his theory. I come in with my shitty metal riffs, and he's and I hear a harmony over it, and within 3 seconds, that's the harmony. Boom. I'm okay, awesome. Thank you, Zachy. So he's he's not just a mate, he's a mentor. I learn a lot from him, and he teaches me a lot just about the overall production processing. I didn't know what side chaining and all this nerd shit.
Right.
I didn't know what any of that meant before him, and now I have a good vocabulary when I go into a studio setting that I can actually communicate properly instead of saying some weird shit. The guys in bands say, "Oh, I need an open sounding vibe." Well, now I can put that into technical terms,
Right. Yeah, I need it to sound really, really wet.
Yeah. It sounds too muddy. I need it to sound dry.
Right.
Well, now it's I could just tell them all right, pull the mids down, put a little bit more high end on it, whatever, so it's it's just so much I learned from Zach, and he's like you said, he's in so many bands now. He's in Ethereus, he's in Kalius, he's doing that thing with Enzo, he's in our bands, and then he's a producer and an engineer for countless bands.
I listened to one of the instrumentals from Ethereus, and Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's awesome. I just wish that Jay and them would just put vocals on some of the stuff, because it's so epic that I'm and it's so written in the realm of you could hear vocals over it,
Yeah.
But that's what separates them. It's what makes them special, That band kills it.
Yeah, they're on one of my Spotify playlists. It's just rips.
Fucking Jay, man. Every time I watch him, I'm I got to practice.
What's Zach doing in that band? Is he
drums? Yeah, and he writes for them as well. I think the bulk of the writing is Jay, but Zach lends his talents to the writing as well. And then just drums and engineers. And then I think they had Angel working on producing the last record with them.
Right on. Yeah, what a fucking that dude's just got his hands on everything now.
Everything. Entrepreneur, man. Entrepreneur. He's a good dude to have in your back pocket for sure.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, dude, it was awesome talking to you.
Hell yeah, same here.
We'll make you just fucking sit out there, and I don't know if it's cold out there or not.
No, it's not bad. It's pretty nice.
Right.
60, 67 here. Not bad.
That's a nice Jersey day.
Yeah. Just the smog's coming in now.
Right. Well, enjoy the event tonight. Fucking, I appreciate you coming on. Fucking, if you got something to plug, throw it in there now.
Yeah, check out my band, The Silencer. Check us out on Spotify, Apple Music, at The Silencer, on Instagram at The Silencer Music. Follow us on Twitter, The Silencer NY, and on Facebook, The Silencer Music. And check out Beliefs in the Fall, out now.
Fucking A, dude. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate you for fucking hanging out with me on a Saturday afternoon. Liz Jesse, I hope you're all right. Fucking miss you. Love you. Joe, I'll fucking try to find my phone and text you in a little bit. Fucking, thank you, guys. I'll see you on Wednesday, I believe, next. And, I don't know. I forget who I'm having on. Curtis Grant, thank you. I'll see you soon. I'll see you on Patreon, because I'm about to do a Patreon video next. Fucking all day. It's just, dude, it's just constant, it never ends. Like
Hell yeah.
the part of the day just keeps rolling. I gotta do this. I do the Patreon, then I do fucking. I am fully immersed in recording stuff. Like this year has been like nerd year where I just engineering 101.
I'm with you on
to,
that.
yeah, it's just fucking, but it's all good. So